Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Innerstand2Ascend, and actually the first episode and actually first video in 2024. So, welcome. Unfortunately, it wasn't able to be done through the live stream because of certain interference that was occurring on the way. But let's maybe not get into this too much. I decided to record this kind of like outside of the People for People platform because I feel like this is an important topic to talk about. I was actually almost a week ago, I kind of got a message that I'm supposed to talk about this, about something that may seem kind of obvious to some people, how to shield yourself, how to protect yourself. But at the same time, I think that sometimes it's good to remind ourselves about things that may seem obvious to us. Because we are in very interesting times. And right now, protecting our field is pretty much of a priority. So I think that's a very important topic to speak about. And that's why at some point I was facing some interference today. But I felt this very strong urge to actually record it even tonight instead of tomorrow. So you guys get it as soon as possible because actually it might turn out to be very useful for you soon. So without getting too much into talking in between, I would like to speak a little bit about how to shield yourself and how to do that very well and how often you should do that and what kind of ways you can actually apply in order to get the most out of it. I will be also presenting, as I said, on my post, I will be reading a document that I have received a couple of days ago, and it's called the 12 Rules of Spiritual Hygiene. So we will be talking about applying certain procedures that should be done quite frequently in order to keep yourself clean, crystal clear, actually. Because just like with, I think that's the best way to compare it. I use that comparison actually quite a few times on my videos, where most of us take a shower every day or even twice per day. We make sure that our physical bodies are clear, looking nice, smelling nice. But many people who are not into spiritual related topics, or even those who are, but they don't really pay so much attention to what is in their fields, they are not clean energetically. And some of us who are more tuned in with kind of being able to sense other people's energies, you guys might be able to feel that among some people that they may smell really nicely in 3D, they may look really nice in 3D, but energetically, they are very, very dirty. And right now, if you are energetically dirty, anything could attach to your fields, really. So that's why having these two aspects of hygiene, because actually, if physically you're not really clean, and it's kind of reflecting itself energetically as well. It's the same way that I notice it when I'm kind of assisting other people with clearing their own houses, where if they just keep a storage of a lot of things, where they don't get rid of old things that they don't need anymore, the house is also in a mess, actually. Not just physical, but also energetic mess. I'm just very commonly seeing these spiders in the corners and kind of like black goo on the walls. So if the house is not being cleared out often on a physical level, there are also different things that could get stuck in the house on an energetic level. That's why all of these old houses that have been abandoned, that's why there are so many wormholes in such places. But today we are going to focus on a spiritual side of it and kind of like on a personal level of our bodies. So the first question that I have on my list, when should I put a shield around my fields? And actually, what does it mean to shield yourself? So most commonly for those who are kind of like getting on their beginning of their spiritual journeys, because that's actually this video is dedicated for people who are kind of in these topics for a long time, but also for those who just started. So when it comes to the dangers that come from other dimensions, they might be difficult to detect for most of us while being in a 3D body to kind of detect an attack coming from the 7th dimension or whatever. But we have the power to protect ourselves from it. And the power lays down in the plasma energies, because actually the mistake that many people make is kind of like using light energies to protect themselves, because it may actually kind of like push back some energetic attacks on 3D level, 4D level, depends on how much of a DNA accretion levels you have. But just to make that very clear, when you're using kind of like, let's say, directly light frequencies in order to set up a protection in your fields, I'm not saying it's not going to work. It will, but only to a certain level of your accretion. So let's say you've got 5 DNA strands activated. So when it comes to creating like a light ball in your fields, you're going to create like a protection that is reaching up to 5D. While with the plasma frequencies, once you start working with them, once you start to feel this beautiful energetic layer, which is kind of inside of your physical body, and that is the plasma body, the plasma frequencies, and it's mostly actually about working with the intention, having that consciousness that when you're creating a bubble around your fields, that's like the most important type of a protection, a bubble, or some kind of like a type of a shield. You're calling into your body the plasma frequencies of internal creation that can stop any kind of dimensional beings, no matter whether these are demons or any kind of grays, draconians, whatever. Nothing can get through the plasma shield, the plasma bubble. So the easiest way, and I will get into types of energy protection fields in a moment, but the easiest way to do it is to mentally send the intention to the Christ-star flame, the white flame of the Christ-star, which is also kind of shining with this beautiful silver golden sparkles of Sun 8. So you send that intention over there, and you start to inhale these frequencies to your heart chakra. And you can either send out this bubble, kind of like so it surrounds you fully, your physical body, or you can create like an armor surrounding your physical body. So it's like sticking very tightly to your physical body, if that makes you feel safer. But that's like the most simple protection you can ever imagine. But you have that consciousness that you're referring, that you're asking for to get frequencies from the Christ-star from which everything came from. You came from it, I came from it, we all did. So basically that's the best way to do it. And you're receiving frequencies from the Sun 8, which is the sun from which all of the creation came from. So this way you are basically receiving the highest frequencies you could ever imagine. And these frequencies will protect you from any kind of beings, no matter from which dimension they come from. So, when it comes to putting a shield around your fields, how often it should be done? It actually depends from you. In the beginning, you might sense that the shield around you starts to dissolve after an hour or two. That's because you start to build that field around you, and it's still not so strong, but you're getting there. So basically, the more often you're doing certain protections, the more effective they will become. It's this way with every single protection technique you decide to do. And now getting to the question, when should I put a shield around my fields? So there's like a pretty much of a simple answer to that. Whenever you feel the need to do so, meaning that when you wake up, and we'll get to that, like what kind of protections you should put before going to sleep and so on. But you wake up and you start to feel like, oh, the energy in the grids kind of doesn't feel so good to me. Well, that means that you should do something in order to prevent these frequencies to get directly to your system. And that's when you should also put a shield. So it's not only about preventing yourself from the attacks, but also from getting undesired frequencies from the planetary grids, which I would say that nowadays is extremely important, considering all of these different kinds of energies that are being spread over here. The second situation is when you go out, especially when you are supposed to meet somebody that you don't necessarily trust, somebody that you suspect that they may not have such good intentions towards you, or you just kind of feel like, well, I'm going to the crowds, and it's like for many people who consider themselves introverts and they feel tired when they are in the crowds, that's because those people, so that's the way it works. When you go into the crowds and you're not having any protection around you, you're basically becoming an open field. So other things, other beings, other energies from other people's biofields, they may come to yours, they may start infecting it, they may start affecting your mental and your emotional bodies, sometimes even your physical bodies. So it's good to put a protection, especially if you're sensitive to feeling other people's energies. And especially when you're going to a place where you don't really trust these energies that you're coming across. Okay. And the third case is after having experienced a psychotronic attack. So what is a psychotronic attack? It's a certain type of an attack that basically starts to invade your fields, and it may be basically caused by some kind of an abduction, or it's an attack that is causing some health issue. For example, very strong headaches like migraine attacks, they are most likely psychotronic attacks coming from other dimensions. So it's good to look if you're experiencing chronic headaches, pains in your joints or something like that. If this keeps happening constantly, that means that something keeps striking you with certain frequencies that cause such conditions in the body. So that's worth looking into. Anyways, here's kind of like a question, because actually what a shield or a protection field is doing, it's actually preventing from creating an opening in your fields. As I said, when you go out to the crowds and you just go out without doing any kind of protection, there is a chance you may get affected because your field is open. Basically, like the whole field is full of openings. You may kind of imagine that normally you're in a bubble with a protection, and whatever tries to come in gets just repelled, is being sent back to the one who has that distortion. But if you just go out to people without any kind of protection put on yourself, everything can come and everything can attach, especially if you're like an empath, somebody very sensitive to feeling other people. Different beings like such people because they have a beautiful energy that they would like to feed with. So that's very important. But there are different situations when basically different openings could be created. So the first one is through the physical touch. And that's probably like the most difficult situation to avoid. Because actually, even when you're having a protection bubble around yourself and somebody touches you, there is a possibility that something still may come to your fields. And honestly, that's something that happened to me over a week ago. And ever since then, I was trying to really kind of figure out how can I avoid it in the future. And that's when I started, instead of just putting a bubble around my fields, I started to create kind of like a layer surrounding my whole physical body. Like I call it a plasma armor. So basically this armor is repelling anything that touches me without my permission. So that's something very useful. Especially if you're going for a family dinner or something and you just kind of sense that some relatives may send some disharmonic energies your way, but you still have to give them a hug. That's how you can protect yourself, by not just putting a bubble around you, but to direct this energy directly to protecting your body. Okay. The other way the openings can be created through emotional attachments. So it's again kind of this situation where what I notice very often on my sessions is that unfortunately a lot of projections, unconscious projections or different energetic attacks are often coming through family members that are not so necessarily interested in spiritual movements and protecting their fields. So there are different energies projecting through them, and then somebody gets attacked, somebody that may sense it. And basically, if there is some kind of an emotional attachment between one person and the other, and one of them is having like a being that's projecting some nasty energies through them, that's how a certain opening is being created, basically through emotional attachment. So that's something worth considering when you sense that somebody that is close to you keeps attacking you. That's because there is a direct connection between the two of you. It's usually through the heart chakra that such attacks are taking place, and through the sacral, because that's basically the sacral chakra is interfacing through the emotional body. Okay, the next one are contracts from previous lives and the ancestral imprint. So if you keep shielding your fields and you're still experiencing attacks, that means you're putting a bubble around you, but there are some holes in your template that basically make this bubble dissolve very quickly, or make it ineffective because you still have certain other openings that allow for something to come through. So that's why I was talking a lot lately about contracts and clearing the ancestral imprint and all of these things that I was talking about, also along with Caroline. It's very important because that's actually one thing that is making us energetically weak and sometimes vulnerable to any kind of attacks. Okay, we also have the interdimensional influence from other beings and abductions, and that also involves stealing blood samples and DNA samples as well. So when we are having a being in our field that has been with us for a very long time, it may be kind of poking our light bubble, well, unless it's a plasma bubble, and it may dissolve it very easily. So that's why working with the plasma frequencies from the core, because basically when you're making a plasma bubble, you're sending the frequencies from the inside out. So this way, even if there is something hanging in your fields, you can push it away, very, very far away from you, and then start on working towards making yourself stronger from the core, and then sending it outwards. And you're going to start reaching more and more distant layers of your auric field, and progressively you will push that being away until it basically leaves your fields. And the last thing that is also creating openings in your field involves unhealthy diet, or kind of like a diet that doesn't really match your energetic DNA template. I was talking about the diets in the other video, so if someone wants to check it out, you can just check out my YouTube channel. It's called Embodying the Christic Lifestyle. That's where I'm talking about the diet. And also the lack of spiritual hygiene and the physical one, they are also causing a lot of openings. So let's say if you're meditating, or actually like if you're clearing yourself once per month, then every month you're going to have more and more work to do. Because actually the art of spiritual hygiene is something that needs to be done on a regular basis. It's not something that is done yearly or monthly or even not weekly. Just like you need to be responsible at your 3D work, if you want to stay at it, you need to be also very responsible for your energetic field. And that's why I'm bringing this information, to kind of bring it more into the awareness. So now we will get into the 12 rules of spiritual hygiene. And actually I've got 15 rules instead of 12. 15 is also good. I was given 3 more actually just before I was supposed to start the show. So we've got more rules to cover, but that's all right. All of them are very important. Okay, so let's start with rule number 1. At least once per week, scan your fields and your bioenergetic system from implants, small blockages, entities, etc. So I would recommend to set a protection around your field as often as you feel like. It can be daily, it can be every other day. This is really a personal matter. But when it comes to scanning your fields, from beings, from anything kind of that you might not even be aware of, because actually when we are in this 3D, purely life, we are not really always noticing that there are certain things that get stuck in our field. So I would recommend everybody to at least like every week, just kind of lay down or just sit comfortably. Take a few very deep conscious breaths, because actually once you start breathing deeply, you will start to feel that there are certain areas of tension in your body, and they might be the blockages. And then you can start progressively releasing them. So it's very important to check for, like on a weekly basis, I would say the entities, any kind of implants, and things that may be distorting your emotional or your mental body. When it comes to clearing the mental body, I'm just going to give out a technique that is going to be a part of the PLASMAREGENESIS classes that I will be starting in 3 weeks, actually less than 3 weeks. And it's about cleaning up the brain, clearing up your mental body space. Because we are receiving a lot of subliminal messages that are going through. So it's very important to clear any kind of things you may not even be aware of, because everything you're looking at is optical pineal induction. So even when you're just watching TV or whatever, there are certain symbols that are getting to your subconscious and they are getting stuck there. And then they might be causing different kind of mood swings or any kind of problems with memory. So it's really good to apply the simple exercise that I'm going to share now. So basically, first you visualize your mini-me inside of your brain as if it was in the center of the pineal gland. And you can even imagine that your mini-me is holding a vacuum cleaner or a broom. Hold that image in your head and try to see the space around you. So you're basically looking at the space from the inside of your brain, which is holding all of these programs that are out there. There are some dirty areas out there inside of your brain space that may look like dust, spider webs, black jelly, or some kind of strange symbols, kind of like reverse geometry. This dirt represents all the subliminal messages and programs that you have caught recently, and these are the disharmonic imprints that distort your mental body structures. Start clearing your brain from the inside. Visualize as your mini-me starts to sweep the floor, dust off the furniture, and remove anything that doesn't belong there. So basically, your mini-me is cleaning up the room, which is your mental space, from the inside of your brain. Sense the freedom and relief coming from this very small but tangible exercise. If there are still any thoughts or disharmonic imprints that come to your mind while you're doing this exercise, try to give them a shape and then get rid of them by turning them to space dust. So basically, if you're clearing your mental space and you start to get some disturbing thoughts, you can imagine that they are kind of turning into like a black square or any kind of symbol that comes to your mind, and you just clear it, just like you cleared all the other imprints. At the end, send some beautiful, glowing plasma frequency from your mini-me's heart of Ephema between chakra 3 and 4 to the brain space. So kind of like the mini-me's just spreading this plasma frequency outwards to the space at which they are at, which is the mental space. Feel and sense your mind filling in with sensations of peace, joy, relaxation, and harmony. And this is a very simple exercise, and it's actually doing a lot. Whenever I have some disturbing thoughts coming to my mind, I'm just doing this simple exercise. It's only like maybe 2 minutes long if you're cleaning it regularly, and it does help a lot. Okay, so the first rule, I'm just gonna read it once again. Rule 1, at least once per week, scan your fields and your bioenergetic system from implants, small blockages, entities, and anything else that may disturbing your subtle body anatomy. And make sure to consciously breathe whenever you're doing this, because the breath will be helping you fill out these distortions, and then you can just send out the plasma frequencies to turn these distortions into vapor. Whenever it's like, let's say, if you're seeing an implant in your arm, or you just feel a blockage out there, you can again request to the Crystar, to this white flame I was talking about. You just send this white flame to your heart chakra, and then you spread it to that infected area, so to that arm where you were sensing the implant. And if you take a few breaths like this, the implant will just get dissolved by itself. Okay, now the next one. Rule 2. Whenever you go out, especially into crowded places, make sure to put a protection field around you. And this way you will be also protecting yourself from receiving any kind of undesirable imprints from the collective consciousness. So that's something that I was talking about a moment ago, so I think that this is pretty much crystal clear. It's good to protect yourself whenever you go out, because you never know what kind of people you will come across someday. Rule number 3. Shield yourself before going to sleep, especially during the full moon periods, the precession of the equinoxes, the Hitaro-Hitalon periods, the magnetic and the electric peaks of the Merkaba, and any kind of energetic events which are basically holding very strong energies. So for example, the Nomiya wave cycle. It's also good to kind of put a shield like this, because basically the plasma bubble is attracting all of the harmonious energies from the universe and from the planet. So basically it will attract more of the beautiful energies towards you. So basically, shielding yourself before going to sleep, I would recommend that prayers are good. Putting bubbles around you, they are also good. And if you're especially very sensitive to attacks in the astrals, put a bubble on your heart chakra, on your chest area, because basically the heart chakra is corresponding to the astral realm. So very often the heart chakra is getting infected through astral attacks. So if you're very sensitive to that, put a protective bubble around your heart chakra, and it might give you like a really peaceful night. And especially, I mentioned especially the full moon, because that's when the energies that are being transmitted through the moon are getting very strong, are getting very intense, and that's why many people struggle to sleep during the full moon, because of these transmissions. And actually the plasma bubble can stop that transmission to come directly to your body. So I do feel that it's very useful. Same is with the precession of the equinoxes, just like we had this the 22nd of December, the winter solstice. Yeah, I was paying a lot of attention to, actually I was even putting like 3 different bubbles at the same time around my fields, because I was just sensing that these energies, when we were aligned with the center of the Milky Way galaxy, from which we were receiving the black hole transmissions, it really felt like they were beaming my body. And if I wasn't doing that, I was feeling this weird ear ringing. So it was helping me to kind of get my body on the right frequencies. So when I was waking up, I didn't feel like something was distorting my anatomy. It felt really good to wake up, even though the energy was challenging. But I didn't feel affected by it directly, because I was in my plasma bubbles. Okay. And the Hitaro, Hitalon periods, yeah, it's also good to protect yourself, because there is a lot of interdimensional interference on these periods, of course. And especially, I do feel like saying one more thing here in regards to the moon. Watch how your sensitivity to interdimensional interference is changing through the cycle of the moon, because it's possible that some of you may be more sensitive to the new moon, some of you may be sensitive more to the full moon, but because of our attunement to the net field of this planet, we are kind of still attuned to the moon. We are progressively shifting that as we start to connect with the rhythms of the median earth that we are blending with. However, it's good to watch your individual cycles, because we are still having the outpicturing of the Tia seed, which was basically activated in 2016. And if I remember correctly, last November it got disactivated. But because of the nature of how the octant cycles work, this event is getting outpictured now on a 3D level. So that's why there may be this different phenomena that I've been seeing on Facebook with these rings around the moon and stuff like that. There may be different anomalies with the moon. So that's why it's good to watch how you're reacting to different phases of the moon cycle, just for your own discernment. Okay. So the rule 3 was shielding yourself before going to sleep, especially if you're sensitive to receiving attacks through the astrals. Rule number 4, be aware of who is touching you physically. that's how implants and nanotechnology is being spread. So I don't think there's much to say here. As I said, physical touch is the best way to implant you or to project something at you. So be very careful with who is touching you, or shield yourself properly. Rule number 5. Make sure that you are checking on a regular basis after a major checkup if you have cleared your ancestral imprint and that you don't have any negative contracts. And that should be done at least once per month. So the thing is that I needed some time to actually understand how this is working, but from my latest research with contracts, it's impossible to remove all of the contracts within one session. If somebody is going to tell you that, yes, I'm going to remove all the karma and all the contracts within one meeting, forget that. There's no way. Why is that? Because actually, when we are having certain contracts, they are like energy blockages. And they are also having their tangible imprints in the DNA structure. So actually, along with the DNA accretions, many things need to get cleared up from the template. Meaning that, let's say you're in the cycle of activating your DNA strand number 7. And let's say that hundreds of years ago, you had 7 DNA strands, and you've gone through some trauma which got saved in DNA strand number 7. But if it didn't come into activation in this life yet, it's gonna be, there is a certain imprint, an imprint that needs to be cleared once you get into the activation of these DNA strands. And what happens very often is that, especially if you've been working with different Metatronic technologies in the past, once you start to work with aligning these, you may need to clear imprints that are in your lower DNA strands. So even if you have these 7 DNA strands activated, but you're still having some imprints stuck in your lower strands, there may be a point where the DNA won't activate any further because you need to clear these imprints first. So this is extremely important. Ooh. And I think that it was something that I wasn't supposed to say because I felt literally something trying to hit into my fields, but I'm having 3 mirror balls around me, so nothing can get through. Anyways, that was quite strong. So, as I said, it's important to do it once per month because especially if you're into activating yourself, your potentials, your gifts, getting more DNA codes activated, there are some things that may appear. Not necessarily in the ancestral imprint, if you cleared everything from your family line, but for example, from different incarnations. Especially if you there's like a moment when you start to feel stuck, or there are different things coming through, you just don't feel the same anymore. It's not, it doesn't necessarily have to mean some kind of an entity in your fields or something. It actually might be it might be some kind of a contract that is out there and something that you may need to release. Okay, rule number 6. Check out the energy in your household to make sure that there aren't any black hole vortices, any openings left after other people, etc. And that is recommended to be done at least once in 2 weeks, bi-weekly. So, as I said, making sure that your household is physically clear, that's also kind of actually a part of the clearing process on an energetic level. It's good to wash the floor with salt or with vinegar. It's actually cleaning out things energetically as well. And when it comes to making sure that there aren't any vortices, that's important because actually, if we look at it this way, if we are inviting guests to our house and they are having their own attachments, or there are just some random people coming for whatever, they may be leaving some things in the house. So actually, if you like bubbles, you can even put like a huge bubble along with all of your family members who are willing to do so. All of the people who are living with you in the same house, you can put like a bubble around the house all together, and it should also protect you from this kind of situations. And about the black hole vortices, that's the reason why the energy is kind of being drained. So for example, if I noticed that once when I had like a huge invasion of beings in my house, that was quite an event. I actually felt like I'm cold all the time in the house. It's just like I put so many sweaters on myself and I was still cold. And when I realized that there's something I need to clear in the house and I did it, it suddenly got very warm. So coldness in the house, too much cold, it actually suggests that that something is draining that heat away from the house. So that's very important. Is there anything else when it comes to the energy in the house? And of course, making sure that the energy you surround yourself with, so for example, like just a good atmosphere in the household, no fights, no tension among different people living in the same household. That's also basically keeping everything in harmony. Okay. Rule 7, as above, so below. If you start to notice any changes in the way you feel on mental and emotional level, or having any shifts in eating or sleeping habits, look into it. So, for example, if you just wake up one day and you totally just feel completely different or feel annoyed, upset, whatever, there is probably something. And the hygiene of emotional and mental aspects is actually also a part of working with the levels of the subtle anatomy. So just like I gave this technique with clearing the mental space, you can actually do the same with your emotions. And actually your emotions are actually held in the area of the day center, in the womb space. So you can actually imagine your mini-me version in the day center, and you may kind of start to see different shadows and different kinds of imprints inside of your womb space in the day center. And this way, just kind of clear it up, use a vacuum cleaner or whatever, and make sure to spread some really nice plasma in that place. And this basically helps with clearing the emotional space. And with these two simple exercises, you can very quickly get rid of any kind of mental and emotional imprints. If it still doesn't help, that probably means there is some kind of blockage from other layer that may be causing discomfort, such as like implants can really mess up in our head. But usually when you're having an implant somewhere, you're sensing that it hurts you, or you just kind of feel it somewhere. So you'll be able to detect it very easily. And also, if you're experiencing something called the ascension symptoms, I've been talking about it quite a lot lately. If the ascension symptom doesn't stop for a few days, that means it's a distortion. So make sure to watch what is an ascension symptom or what is not, actually, because most of them aren't. Okay. Rule number 8. Digital devices such as TV, laptop, smartphone should be also monitored if they aren't sending us any reverse transmissions, and if they do, they need to be cleared. And that should be also done at least once in 2 weeks, or I would say even once per week, because we still use them quite often. this is something that I will be expanding more on probably soon, because we are receiving a lot of reverse transmissions these days as the AI is kind of expanding and trying to get through to us. So so it's worth looking into it. Oh, I didn't even kind of know that. It's quite funny how I'm doing this video. I kind of sense that I'm talking to myself because it's not live, but what I wanted to say, I'm kind of receiving certain information live, so there will be more information being uncovered on that subject, because actually, as I said, there are a lot of different transmissions going through AI, and different technologies trying to listen to us, to exactly what we are thinking, and trying to pretend to be us, trying to drain our consciousness. That's actually taking place a lot through video games. If you are having your children playing video games, make sure what kind of video games these are, because many of these games are actually having the black hole technologies inserted to the video games, and then they are kind of later coming to the video screen and literally draining the consciousness. It's kind of like as if a child is playing and there is like a wormhole in front of them and it's draining the consciousness. So it's very important to look into it. And as I said, I might even make a separate video about that. Okay. Yeah, my higher self reminded me I didn't even say how to protect the digital devices. Okay, so the easiest way to do it, so the easiest way to do it is to actually, again, use the energies of the crystal flame. And just like we create like a bubble around our fields, we can do it in the same way around our smartphones and around our laptop as well, any kind of digital devices. And what else? And I was talking about it once, I think, on one of my shows, that you can actually use this frequency also from the crystal flame to clear all of the social media around you. And there is also a technique that is on my profile, how to actually protect your pictures. You're doing it using the Aluria Rashatan code. Okay. Rule number 9. If you happen to experience some negative interference during your sleep, take a refreshing shower or a bath with baked soda and clear yourself with white plasmas. It's good to refresh your body with salt or baked soda, because it's actually at the same time, it's kind of removing any sort of an energetic mess that is over there, or at least like a part of it. And the white plasma frequencies will also help you clear from it. If there is any kind of other technique that you feel like doing after an astral attack, it's good to do it. And to also request to the Effie. So the Effie returns you any kind of parts of the consciousness that have been stolen from you during the dream state. Okay, rule 10. Clear your fields regularly with plasma frequencies. And here are the places to pay special attention to. The chakra lotuses, so making sure that you didn't pick up any dark flower from other people and from the grids. Auric fields, as different kind of beings like to be stuck in them. Pineal gland, which is related to the inner vision. And heart chakra, which is, as I said, it's connecting to the astral space. So these are the main things that need to be cleared with the plasmas in order to override any kind of distortions that are on the external light body levels. Rule 11. If your workplace is full of 3D-minded individuals, create a mirror bubble around you so you do not receive any undesired imprints from them. So if you're working in an office that doesn't really have high frequency energies and such, it's good to apply something like this on a daily basis. Rule 12. If you happen to notice any anomalies in energy or behavior of your inmates, like people around you or people living in the same house with you, let them know about it, and if they want to cooperate, you can work on clearing this together. Free will choice must always be respected, meaning that if they do not want to do this, you cannot force them to. But it's good to be sensitive to the energies of people around you, because if you're living with somebody in the same house, you're sharing the same energetic space. So this may be also influencing you. And you have the right to inform them about that. And it's also actually like a certain responsibility. And whether they want to work through this or not, that's really their own choice. Okay. Rule number 13, breathe consciously on a daily basis. So as I said, like let's 5, 10, 15 minutes, as many as you feel like is right for you. But basically, conscious breathing is going to help you feel out your body more, feel the flow of energy that is going through your body. And that is also going to help you see where the blockages in the energy flow are. And then with the breath, you can easily release them. Rule number 14, do not interfere into spiritual choices and beliefs of other people, because you may catch these imprints from them if you try to change it. That's how it works. Sometimes, I will talk about it more in a minute, but sometimes interfering into other people's spiritual space may bring these imprints on you. So this is like a very unstable ground. Rule number 15, before helping others, make sure that you are clear yourself. So if you want to help other people in any way, make sure that you are clear yourself first, so you don't transmit anything more to others. And that is especially a message I would like to say to any healers. For them especially, that's very important. Like what I'm always doing, that's how I was pretty much taught by the guardians, is that whenever I'm doing a session with somebody, I'm clearing myself. Let's say I do one in the morning, so I'm clearing myself from whatever happened through the night and whatever kind of emotions and thoughts I'm having in my head, so I don't transmit it to anybody. And even if there is still something out there, my protection is strong enough so nothing gets transmitted through. And then when I'm meeting somebody again, I'm clearing myself from the energy of the person I was working with before and making sure that nothing else was transmitted on the way. So doing any type of healing facilitation is a huge responsibility, because basically you are responsible not only for your energetic field, for your own, but also for the energetic safety of others. And unfortunately, many healers don't pay so much attention to that. Okay. The next thing that I would like to look into are the mirror balls and walls. Okay, so what does it mean? So mirrors, they are like energy deflectors. So basically, anything that tries to be projected at you, if you're having a mirror ball surrounding you, it will get reflected right back at the sender. And I would say that's a very useful technology. And you can apply mirror balls to your house, to your room, to your body, to the field around you. And actually, that's like, I would say, the best kind of a protection, because it's just like it's sending back anything that tries to be projected at you. And the easiest way to bring the most powerful mirror energy. It's actually from the Uralic Conservatory. So it's about bringing that energy from that beautiful diamond Tranti in window, which is in your chakra 14, 90 centimeters above your physical body head. That's the best way to do it, and you can amplify it by bringing in the energies from the Nomi seat at the earth core. Okay. And you can also put this mirror ball in front of yourself when you're talking to other people that you don't trust, so they don't project anything to you. Okay, so now I've got like a list of the best energy protection fields. So I would say that top one, or actually like top, I'm having 6. Yeah, let's say top 6. The first one is the pink LUV bubble. So it's about first reaching that 0 point where basically you get rid of any kind of thoughts that are out there in your mind and you're just kind of tuned in your own space. And you start to breathe in this beautiful pink plasma to your body. You first spread it actually to a bubble around you and then to your physical body. And this is like actually like the infra pink plasma, and it's a fire plasma, so it will also burn anything that tries to get into you, and it will burn anything that is already in your fields, if there's anything. The second type of a protection that I really like is the rainbow vehicle. So once you do the journey to the rainbow reservoirs at least once, which is a plasma body projection that I've been talking a couple of times already, you can just inhale into your rainbow crystal, which is in your heart of Ephema between chakra 4 and 3. You just inhale into it and you can pop this rainbow vehicle sphere right back in your fields. And it's very powerful. And the more often you do it, the more it will stay in your fields. The third one is, I call it the white sphere of purity. So it's basically the one that I described in the beginning. So it's about inhaling this, calling in this rainbow, not rainbow, but actually the white crystal plasma from Sun 8 core. And that Sun 8 core white plasma will create a sphere in your heart chakra, and then you either create like a sheath around your body, or you just spread it as some kind of like a sphere into your fields. The fourth one is called the cloak of invisibility. So actually a mirror ball is a certain type of this kind of like a cloak of invisibility, because it's kind of like energetically you can see the space around you through your mirror ball, but others cannot see you, which is really cool. So that is one type of such protections. Or you can actually imagine, I'm personally not a fan of this technique, but it works. It's just a matter of preference, really. That you're wearing a cloak, literally like a cloak on your body, and this cloak is just making you completely disappear to others. Number 5 is the virtue shield. So whenever you're working with the virtue codes, you can spread them to the corresponding layers of the auric field. So you basically do the optical pineal induction of the code. It's going to the corresponding chakra. You say the corresponding codes of the virtues, the corresponding tones, and then you just inhale into the corresponding chakra and you spread this energy to your fields. So these are kind of like the most useful energy protection fields. And I would say that the most powerful power centers from which you can get the energy from is the Nomi seat in the earth core and the Trandin window in chakra 14, 90 centimeters above your physical body head. Okay, so I'm kind of talking quite a lot already, so let's maybe skip the psychotronic attacks part And I'm going to go into the question, how can I protect others? Because it's something that kind of, I could pick it up in the collective consciousness. So first of all, as I said before, in rule number 12, which is about if you happen to notice any anomalies in energy or behavior of your inmates, let them know about it. And if they want to co-create with you, you can work on clearing this together. So basically, the free will choice must be respected in all matters. So if somebody doesn't want your help or doesn't even want to think about clearing it themselves, don't even bother to trying to convince them. All right. So you can protect your children if they don't know how to shield themselves yet. So let's say if it's like a 5-year-old child that is having nightmares all the time, the parent has the right to set a protection field around them if the child really needs it. That's all right. But let's say if that's already kind of like a 15-year-old teenager that doesn't really want any kind of assistance in that matter, that also needs to be respected. The child will learn sooner or later. But usually it's also this case that if a parent has a strong energetic field, the child will also, because it kind of started to pick up that energy ever since it was growing in the womb. So especially for pregnant women, when you're protecting yourself, when you're shielding yourself, you're also shielding that child that you're carrying. Okay. And of course, it's better to actually not necessarily do the shield for others. Actually, when it comes to setting the protection in your own field, that's something that you do yourself. Nobody can do it for you. So you can always teach others how to put a shield around their fields if they are willing to listen. And here are just like 2 notes that I would like to mention. Be aware that you cannot protect others from their own demons or any kind of things that are in their fields. Doesn't have to be demons. Some lessons need to be learned, and taking that away from others is on a certain level a breach of their free will and may result in you taking that imprint on yourself, as I said before. Even though it may be challenging to perceive it this way in the 3D realm, each soul has their own path, and it is for nobody else to judge. Applying the 12 VARs, the virtues, attitudes, and responsibilities, means respecting everyone's personal choices as long as they don't breach the free will of other living beings, but at the same time, being there for those who may need a helpful hand. So, a part of the angelic human's mission, it's actually the duty of all angelic humans, actually like the souls incarnating into the human bodies, to love, honor, and respect every free will choice that is being made. So you can teach others how to do certain things, but consider whenever you decide to do certain work for them. That's what I started applying, I would say over a month ago. More and more on my sessions, it was kind of like a transition period where I started to work with people in a completely different way on my meetings. Where basically, instead of doing certain work for you, you're the one who's doing the work. I'm helping you get through the whole process, but I'm teaching you how to do everything yourself. So basically, on the session with me, I'm not activating you, I'm not magically healing you. I'm basically teaching you how to do certain things yourself. And I'm making sure that certain things have been cleared up. So that's basically how I work, and that's much more healthier for me and much more beneficial for others. So just wanted to mention that. And when it comes to the topic of shielding, I think I'm pretty much done. I would say that this is kind of like an introduction to my PLASMAREGENESIS classes that I'm going to be starting in over 2 weeks. I'm having quite a lot of people signed up already, so if you still want to join, message me as soon as possible, because I'm having only a few spots left. And I'm really excited for it as well. I will be definitely sharing more techniques on how to protect yourself, on how to shield yourself, how to defend yourself from the psychotronic attacks during the classes. This will be specifically aimed not for you to become a healer for others, but actually you need to become your own healer first before you help others. That's pretty much what the PLASMAREGENESIS classes are aimed for. So I'm very much looking forward to it. And I'm going to see you next week, hopefully live, even though it was quite interesting to record it like this and speak to myself. It kind of felt like I wasn't alone, because I was kind of feeling my higher self talking through me and my guardians as well around. So it's been quite of an interesting experience. So thank you so much for listening. And I'm looking forward to seeing you next week on People for People. And well, I'm here for you if you need anything. So have a wonderful evening and a wonderful new year. I might share more of the insights that I received about the new year in the divine right timing, but I sense that it will be a very transformative year for the whole humanity. A really exciting year, a little bit challenging, but I think that the challenges are really exciting at the same time. Wonderful energies to come. So I'm really looking forward to it. So to all of you, have a wonderful 2024, and I will see you soon. Take care.